good evening. Hope everybody's well. Welcome back to our Red Tara Practice and Contemplation group. We are currently contemplating Chagdud Rinpoche's amazing book, Change of Heart. And we're in the section of questions and answers on page 168. The next question is, what takes place in the mind of an older person who can't remember anything? If the mind is everlasting and constant, what about my mother who appears to have lost her mind? Rinpoche says, you are referring to mental faculties, not the nature of mind. The mind itself has no substance, but is joined with the physical body and a subtle body, which consists of subtle channels and energies. When the physical body is not sound, when it is sick or old, our mental faculties can become impaired. The ordinary mind becomes very dull, or irrational emotions can arise. But mind's nature does not change. For example, even if a stroke causes paralysis and hinders one's speech or thoughts, the mind's nature still remains unchanged. On the other hand, when the physical body is strong and the subtle energies flow smoothly, we have greater mental acuity. In meditation, we use specific postures to keep the subtle channels straight, so that these energies can move freely. This enhances our mental faculties. Then the next question is, you mentioned something about the space between thoughts, the nature of mind having a timeless quality. Would that mean that an intuitive flash breaks the space-time barrier? When you suddenly have an insight or see something in the future, does that mean that your mind is somehow messing with time? Rinpoche answers, nothing is messing and nothing is missing. It just implies a thinning out of our obscurations, allowing the mind to reach beyond ordinary parameters. There's a story from India about a man who asked his friend, a powerful magician, to conjure an illusion that he could experience the dreamlike nature of phenomena. The magician smiled and poured his friend a cup of tea and said, not today, but maybe some other time. Before the man drank his tea, he went outside to find more wood for the fire, and somehow got lost in the forest. As night fell, he grew very cold and hungry. The more he wandered in the dark, the more lost he became. As the sun rose, he came at last to a town that was completely unfamiliar to him. He had no money, so after a time he began to beg, struggling day after day to survive. He then wandered to another town, where eventually he found work, fell in love, got married, and even had a child. The child tragically died just after birth, and he and his wife suffered tremendously. Then they had a second baby who also died. Tragedy upon tragedy befell him. Still, the man worked very hard and built a home. Finally, the couple had a third baby. That one survived for a while and brought them great happiness, but eventually that child died as well. At that point, they were no longer able to have children. Life became more difficult as they aged, until finally the man's wife died, and he was once again alone. So old that he could hardly move and nearly blind, he reflected on the passing of his life, feeling great sadness because his few moments of happiness had been so fleeting. With that, the magician snapped his fingers, and the man woke up. He asked the magician, "Why did you do that? I suffered so much and for so long." The magician replied, "It wasn't long at all. Your tea isn't even cold." We superimpose our concepts of time and space, like a grid, on our sense of reality, believing them to be valid units of measurement. But when we begin to realize the truth of our experience, we see how random and arbitrary they really are. Next question. At times, the methods you've taught us work for me, but usually my mind is quite wild, all over the place, and I feel that meditation isn't cutting it at all. Rinpoche answers, sometimes meditation seems hopeless, and we feel discouraged by the many negative thoughts that crowd the mind. We may even feel that they've actually increased since we started meditating. But that's not the case. They've been there all along. It's just that now we're noticing them, perhaps for the first time. This means that we're making progress. Our negativity shouldn't surprise us. After all, if we were perfect, there would be no reason to practice. So as we watch the mind, when we say negative thoughts and emotions arise, rather than following them, we can let them go without giving them any power. When we get discouraged, it helps to look back and observe how much we've changed. If we are very diligent, we'll notice change every day. If not, then daily, monthly, or at least over the course of a year. That will give us the impetus to go forward. When we begin practice, we may notice that positive, kind, and selfless thoughts only arise about 10% of the time. But the more we practice, such thoughts may arise 15, 20, or 25% of the time. That's how we start to change.